Hi, I'm Rhys Lawton, and this is MainScream Media, watching the mainstream news so you don't have to. Before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on, well, this. Hey. And without further ado, let's smash that media piñata and feast on the tasty news within. Nom 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 nom. News. Climate change conferences are like Christmas, aren't they? Every year there's so much excitement, so much build-up, so much anticipation, and then... bleh. The final days were crucial, weren't they? Weren't they? At least to the mainstream channels. Time's running out! Get it done, quick!
Negotiations at COP26 go into the night and down to the wire.
Negotiators in the Glasgow summit have 24 hours to get a result.
With talk of extending negotiations now into the weekend, is the time bomb Boris Johnson conjured in his opening remarks about to blow?
A bit OTT? I think they think it's some kind of EU exit deal, or an election. Yes, we're running out of time to save the planet, but the conference? Nah, long-term stuff. Nothing changes overnight. There's a deadline, sure, but that's because they all have flights to catch.
I have to go and catch a climate-friendly means of transport back to London.
Sorry, eco-friendly transport. COP26 itself only mattered to the host country, the UK. Look, there'll be another COP along in a minute. Going into overtime just means it's all a bit shit on paper and they're scared it'll look like a cop-out. See what I and every other fucking newspaper did there? But that's a bit too nuanced, so let's make it all about the deadline instead. Get over the line, get on with it, push, do the deal, do it, time's running out.
I've got to allow you 10 seconds.
ITV's Robert Peston laying down the law. Maybe a bit longer than that, mate. Your approach just scares people. The conference got there eventually. For the big man himself, COP President Alex Sharma, well, he lost it a bit.
I apologise for the way this process has unfolded, and I'm deeply sorry.
Don't cry, mate. I'm sure you did your best. I've got some lovely ice cream here for you. Cheer up. Look, if you're watching Andrew Marr's show, you might not even have noticed.
Let's take a look at this clip from last night as Mr. Sharma apologised to delegates and the world for the last-minute changes that were being made to the deal.
Weird. I didn't make up that apology, did I? We all saw it before, right? Right? Bit like one of Boris's, that. What's in your amazing deal anyway, then? Have we saved the world? Kept 1.5 alive? No? Oh, well, never mind. You got a deal on coal, though, right? The nasty stuff's out?
Glasgow has sounded the death knell for coal power.
Hey, nice one! Something about phasing it out? Sounds like a plan.
For the very first time in any of these conferences, the word coal is actually reflected in the text. That, again, is a first. Yes, of course, I would have liked to ensure that we maintained the phase out and rather than changing the wording to phase down. But, you know, on the way to phasing out, you've got to phase down.
Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. You've used the word coal. And phasing down? I've been phasing down my ham addiction, right down to a pig a day. Same as quitting, yeah? Now what happens? Well, some countries are going underwater faster than you can say, these heat pumps are a bit shit, aren't they? And it's all round to Sharm el-Sheikh next year. Get it right next time. I'm worried about Alec, though. Emotional Sharma, flustered Sharma. Doesn't seem like the same guy who wanted cool heads, keep it together, one final push. Tried to make a steely nickname happen.
I think people who sometimes describe me as no drama Sharma.
Some of the cheerleaders bought it and bigged him up. The others took the piss a bit. No one really asked the pertinent question. Who are these people who call you no drama Sharma? Have they met you? Unbelievably, BBC One's Late Night Nerds on Newscast got the scoop.
For 2 years, I've been saying to Alok Sharma that he should change his Twitter bio to no drama Sharma.
Really? You're taking PR advice from that guy? All a bit cosy, isn't it? A bit chummy? Everyone's a bit too close, come to think of it. It's why the activists have to shout from the sidelines. Politicians, corporations and media hacks all in one big scrum. Difficult to see the wood for the deforestation. Lines get blurred, like when Peston had the Prime Minister's COP spokesperson on.
Like Stratton, who I'm thrilled to sort of rejoin the family, only temporarily, sadly.
How lovely. Such a shame it can't be like old times when she co-presented your show, Robert. Got a bit lost on those of us who haven't got the Peston box set. You can almost see him pining for the good old days. Feel bad for his current co-presenter, Anushka Asthana. Got that, Robert? Have you got that? Leave the past in the past. Anushka, right?
As Allegra just pointed out, there are almost no sort of binding words there when it comes to, you know, revisiting, for example.
pointed out, you mean?
What did I say?
Allegra.
Oh, God, it's going to be one of those nights.
Yeah, one of those nights where you have a few drinks, forget people's names, things happen, go with the flow. Stop it. Another problem for the media is keeping the audience engaged. The world leaders fucked off after 2 days. We're forced to stay and watch it, especially with the impenetrable jargon. Try me, Ed.
The ratchet mechanism really matters here.
The what mechanism? Rat shit. Replacing fossil fuels with renewable rodent excrement, are we?
The ratchet mechanism.
Yes, that's what I thought you said. The ratchet mechanism is about countries updating their plans, which they did, just not a hell of a lot. How else to keep the interest high? Maybe bully us into recycling a bit more, because we can all make a difference, can't we? You're all just as bad as governments and corporations, and you know it's working when the viewers start hassling the shows.
Thank you so much for all your messages this week. We had a lovely message today from Kathy, actually, talking about the set. She said, totally loving the set this week on The One Show. Bright, colourful and cosy. Hope you can take the set back down south after.
He's hating that, isn't he? Boots on the other foot, Gethin, mate. Take your crap with you. You've done your job too well. He wasn't the only one who got shafted for being a bit of a smug fuck.
What's happened in the last 24 hours is I've picked up some merch, which Ed has done too. Everyone gets a COP refillable, reusable water bottle. I had to go and buy a hole punch today because I'm starting to fill up my new COP binder.
You haven't been printing things out. Hang on a minute. I thought you weren't allowed to have paper. You weren't allowed to have plastic bottles. What are you doing using up the forest by printing out documents?
The voice of reason there being Laura Koonsberg, BBC's political editor. Maybe try something else. Back to Peston for a graph or something. Oh, look, it's Allegra.
The real numbers actually spike up so quickly that we couldn't fit them on screeny.
Sorry, what's that?
The real numbers actually spike up so quickly.
No, the other bit.
Screeny.
Yeah, I did hear that right. You just gave your computer a name, didn't you? That always ends badly. Computers with names. Hal, Jarvis, my own laptop, Dave, all on a murderous rampage. Sorry, got distracted there. What was that about the graph?
So this is a log scale, which essentially flattens the lines, but still allows us to compare the countries. It means some of the gaps are much bigger than they actually look.
Let's start again. What's the computer called? No, I'm with you. Something about saving the trees?
Remember the log scale? It's actually a much bigger gap than you think.
No, lost me. Enough. Oh, wait, she's still going.
For this, we have a Geek of the Week. Geek of the Week. Oh, do we? There we go, Geek of the Week.
Yes, we do. It's you. Congratulations. Go buy yourself a new computer. Keeping things simple also gets you into dodgy territory. Take broadcaster and campaigner Chris Packham. BBC Nature guy, hosts Springwatch, bit controversial. Clashed with the Countryside Alliance over alleged political bias. Cleared by the BBC, so it must be fine. Also accused of siding with Labour after retweeting the deputy leader's rant at sickening Tory cronyism. For Cuddly Chris, the solutions to climate are all too easy. Get rid of the bad stuff, no messing about.
When we decided to get rid of slavery, we got rid of slavers' jobs straight away, or as fast as we possibly could.
Nearly, Chris. I think you saw your own problem there. If we had just gotten rid of slavery overnight, then yes. Except we didn't. We phased it out over 50 years and paid massive sums to the slave owners. Still a big issue, that. Compensating them rather than the enslaved people. But I think you realised it the moment you said it, didn't you? Chris is actually the more sensible kind of activist. Peaceful demonstrations, keep it all lawful, unless it all gets a bit too exciting.
If you come outside, I'll superglue you to the motorway.
Is that a threat or a promise? Chris, you really know how to show a girl a good time. Sleaze. That catch-all word that strongly implies wrongdoing in politics but doesn't guarantee it. The media loves it, their lawyers love it, but these days it's less about covering your back and more about what are the rules and how do we know if someone's broken them? How do we know? Right now, it's a race to get the cleanest hands. Boris Johnson desperately scrubbing away, Keir Starmer gave him a good wash before he became leader, Geoffrey Cox with a note from the Whip's office saying he doesn't have to, or Owen Paterson insisting he did wash them, why won't you believe him? How to solve it? Maybe a vote or something?
The vote is to move forwards for the next stage, and then the Standards Committee and the Commissioner will go away and bring forward a proposition. So this isn't a constant,
though, isn't it?
Well, you'd love us, and wouldn't we all love an instant and complete solution overnight? This is an opposition.
Those are the questions I just came up with off the top of my head in the cab on the way here.
Well,
I mean, seriously.
I always do my best work on the hoof too, Kay. MPs did vote for a ban on a limited number of consultancy jobs and reasonable limits on outside work. What's that? Who knows?
What's a reasonable amount of extra work, additional work for an MP to undertake? Because that hasn't been made clear, has it?
No, it hasn't. As I said, the detail of the rules is for the committee to set out, but what we've given is a clear steer.
So nothing binding, no deadlines, all kicked down the road to another committee of MPs. I know. MPs setting vague rules and acting as judge and jury kind of allows them to take the piss, which might be the point. All started clearly enough. Boss, Owen Paterson's broken the rules. Can we scrap the whole system to save him? Sure. Why not? Let's give it a go. They tried, they succeeded, they looked like dicks, and they cut him loose.
Things could certainly have been handled better, let me put it that way, by me.
He did finally admit he'd crashed the car on that one. Then, of course, the sequel. Tory MP Geoffrey Cox raking in millions in legal work representing a tax haven from his taxpayer-funded parliamentary office.
If there are allegations, indeed in relation to Geoffrey Cox, that those rules haven't been abided by, then that is a matter for the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards, and there's an appropriate mechanism for those investigations.
OK, but your advice to MPs would be don't use Zoom calls for private business from your office, basically?
No, mate, it's, oh, is that the mechanism you lot tried to scrap a couple of weeks ago? Seems to be a fan of it now. In the media, it's all about the next scoop. Easiest with the Tories. There's a party that knows it's sleaze, but still murky without any real boundaries. Take Ian Duncan Smith. £25,000 from a hand sanitizer firm. Recommended rules to benefit it too. If that's not wrong, I don't know what is. Might be a coincidence? At least he's got clean hands. What about Transport Secretary Grant Shapps? He might be lobbying against his own government. And he's got a £100,000 private plane, the snake. Someone must know.
Is that an appropriate thing for your colleague to do?
Well, as I said, I've spent the last 3 weeks hunkered down here in Glasgow.
Don't hassle me, Andy. I was in the story about COP. Haven't I suffered enough? No, Andrew wasn't done.
But? I'm sorry, I was wondering whether there was a but there, whether you did think it was appropriate for him to do that kind of thing.
Well, as I said, Andrew, I've really not looked into the details of any of this. I mean, I hope you'll forgive me that on this occasion, I literally have been hunkered down here for 3 weeks in Glasgow.
I do understand that.
Don't let him off the hook. He's got internet up there. At least I hope he did. Maybe that's why his climate deal's so shit. What else? Did Commons leader Jacob Rees-Mogg break the rules by not declaring £6 million in loans? Not sure. Put a question mark in the headline, that'll cover it. Some lose track of the big picture. The Mirror found an MP with a £300,000 link to a China spy firm. Who? Richard Fuller. Never heard of him. Right, bit less interesting. Then there's those who try to spread the mud a bit. What's this? The Labour leader's been doing legal work? Is he a lawyer? Oh, wait, yeah, he is. Where? Gibraltar, you say? When? Before he became leader? Guys, it's a start. Not quite what Cox is doing, but if there's no line in the sand, I guess it counts. And, oh dear, the follow-up's even more boring because Starmer's nothing if not dull. Turned into a tedious row about whether he'd rejected other work because it was wrong or because his predecessor Jeremy Corbyn told him to. Wait! Corbyn! He's exciting, right? One for Good Morning Britain, this. Get a former Labour MP to interview a current Labour MP about him.
Back in 2019, on the doorstep, anti-Semitism, defending Russia, being soft on terror. Doesn't Keir Starmer need to do more to show there's been a real change from the Corbyn years? And doesn't that mean that people like Jeremy Corbyn and others shouldn't be coming back into the Labour Party?
Well, look, I've said for a long time if Jeremy should apologise. I mean, I'd like to draw a line under that episode and move forward.
Yeah, Corbyn was shit, wasn't he? Happy days are here again. Stick a commie hat on him and be done with it. Sorry, what were we talking about? It might all be clearer when the media knows what is and isn't reasonable work for MPs. Or is a better solution staring us in the face? It just needs Robert Peston to point it out.
There's a lot of talk at the moment about whether second jobs should be banned. Should they be banned?
Seems a little sweeping, Robert. I have to give up all my other work because I'm here talking about you.
There's a lot of talk at the moment about whether second jobs should be banned. Should they be banned? For MPs?
Got there in the end. A legendary Peston question, Germanic in its construction, where you don't find out what's going on until the end. Sometimes not even then. Some of Peston's lot need to be careful. Start asking too many questions about taxpayer-funded MPs, and we soon get to taxpayer-funded journalists.
Some people do Question Time and Antiques Roadshow, and as long as you can do them both fine, then, you know, good on them.
Wondering how to cope with that particular point.
What do you say to that, Fiona?
What do I say to that? I say neither is a full-time job, but together they are a full-time job. That's what I'd say to that.
I think he's trying to be nice, or flirt with you, Fiona. A good point, badly made. Smiley Fiona's actually only the 5th highest paid BBC star, just over £400,000 a year for this and the Antiques one, going around the country disappointing old people about how much the crap in their loft's worth. I'd agree with her. Doesn't sound that taxing. Bit of a jolly. But you wouldn't need a second job with that kind of cash coming in, would you? Except she does. Got a spare 10 to 25,000 knocking around? She's yours. Speaking of taxpayer-funded jollies and the Mail, they thought this was a winner. MPs have been getting boozed up on a flight to visit the troops as well. Have they no respect for our heroes? 2 SNP politicians and a Labour one, no Tories, huzzah! They all deny it. And to be honest, it doesn't sound that great. Hands up who hasn't gotten a bit plastered at a work thing. Where was it all going down? Somewhere sleazy?
Gibraltar. I don't think Gibraltar's ever featured. Actually, I was going to say it hasn't featured so much in the news for a long time, but of course we did talk about it for rather a while.
What are you talking about? Gibraltar.
Hi again, Laura. Where are you from?
Gibraltar.
Our accent's okay now. There was a time when they were a bit, you know. Maybe Keir Starmer can give you some tips. Back to the story. Drinks on a plane.
We've talked to witnesses who were there, who have told us that there was a lot of drinking. One witness told me that they were extremely drunk.
I guess that settles it. Case closed. Relax, you lawyers. She threw in the denials too. For a bit of BBC balance, she's also been on Geoffrey Cox's tail.
His Commons office was all locked up and the lights off when I went and had a peek yesterday.
Have you tried the British Virgin Islands? What a news hound you are. Probably got all the gossip.
You do hear quite sort of hair-raising stories about some of the things that people have got up to, thinking that they might be on a sort of 18 to 30 trip rather than off on some professional fact-finding mission.
60 to 70.
But
what? Off on a professional trip and doing some quite hair-raising stuff? Who would do such a thing? If you're thinking, Laura, you'd be wrong. Yes, it was all very sad when Telegraph hack Dominic Penner was forced to delete a tweet claiming Koonsberg had a rap battle with Michael Gove at Tory party conference. I think we all just wanted it to be true. Others tried a different tack. Bastion of free speech GB News even asked if any of this was that sleazy, even the Tory stuff.
So-called sleaze and a row over MP second jobs crowded out COP26 for much of the week.
So-called sleaze scandal indeed. Arlene's your expert on that. Didn't that cash for ash thing in Northern Ireland come on her watch? Renewable energy? One guy paid $1 million to heat an empty shed? Oh, I remember now. It's fine. The report found any failings weren't corrupt or malicious. So-called sleaze indeed. But it looks like the graphics operator went a little further than that, putting the scandal bit in inverted commas too. No, guys, it definitely was a scandal. Sorry, Arlene, terribly rude. You were going to interview someone about this so-called sleazy, so-called scandal?
But now... Sorry. The Brexit minister speaking, Patrick, so we're going to take him...
Yeah, much more important. Nothing really to see here, is there? Isn't it great now Brexit's over? All finished, done and dusted, bum, bum, bum. Except, no. Northern Ireland's a massive mess. There's a trade war incoming and it's all the UK or the EU's fault. Or both. Bit of context. Post-Brexit, either side can just rip up the deal covering Northern Ireland. That's Article 16 in the withdrawal part for the real buffs. And they can tear up the big trade deal too. Look, I know, it was a blank piece of paper, I'm making a point. And yes, I know, the deals don't sound that great, do they? What idiots let that happen? Well, for the UK side, the same guy who's now got a problem, Lord David Frost. At least the EU had the decency to switch things around a bit. Michel Barnier's turned into Maroš Šefčovič. Michel's been busy fucking up a French presidential race by having a go at the EU. Yes, he is. Go have a look. I don't have time. So, would the EU or the UK really mess with the deals? Remember when the bloc made similar threats over vaccine supplies? Thought about trying to stop jabs crossing the border into Northern Ireland? The Brexity papers had a field day. Those EU bullies dicking about with stuff they don't understand. They were humiliated, a massive own goal. Now, Frosty's an ace away from triggering Article 16 himself. Could have already happened while I'm busy talking to you. He says there's too much red tape in Northern Ireland, doesn't like the sea border, wants out of the European Court, all the stuff he signed up for. Who's bullying now? It's the UK, right? No, of course not. Dave's just telling them what's what. They will do things our way, says the Express. The paper also ran a poll. Why? Don't know. But the result was clear. Trigger it now. It's the only language they understand, said over 90% of readers. The Express does use its readers a lot. One might almost think it decides what to say, then looks for the comments to back it up. I'm sure that can't be right. Here's another. Time to cut loose. Britain's call for Boris to go nuclear. Who are these gung-ho Brits? The Express quotes a massive total of 7 from the website, one named Miserable Reader. Not because they read the Express, surely. Probably miserable about those EU swine. We're out their pesky club and they're still making our lives a misery. The Daily Mail had an article even saying it was the EU side overreacting with their retaliation package. Calm down, lads. Why are you getting so worked up? We're only thinking about ripping the whole deal up, while the equally Brexity but more classy Telegraph decides to rise above it. The foreigners will come to their senses once they understand we know best. They'll give us a better offer. Oh, also doing war gags too. Bit weird around Remembrance Sunday. The Frenchies have surrendered, like they did under the Nazis, and they're letting migrants cross the channel just to spite us. If you're a Times reader, Remain a rag if you recall, a bit of a different take. We do want a deal, Frost tells EU in bid to calm tensions. Now he's the peacemaker. Maybe it's a different guy. And we get more extreme in The Guardian. The EU are the ones threatening us. I thought we were calling the shots. No? So who's right? Well, they all are. Or they all aren't. Brexit lovers having a pop, Remainers cozying up to Brussels. Either way you spin it, a total shitstorm. At least we're not actually at war with France over the fish. We're not, are we? Oh. Isn't it great? Now all that COVID stuff's a distant Sorry. I said, isn't it great now all that COVID stuff's a distant memory? It is, isn't it? Everything feels back to normal. It's not, of course. Nearly 40,000 cases a day, couple of hundred deaths, booster jabs extended, even a Christmas lockdown on the cards. Bit risky. Let's be careful. So, why was I wearing a mask? Oh, I just wanted you to know, I know it's still a thing. In mainstream Teleland, that's the name of the game. Back to normal, but throw in some weird shit to let us viewers know you know. Look responsible. Look at all the big news and current affairs shows. Presenters who see each other every day still sitting miles apart. Why? Are they any safer? Probably not. There's no guidance about keeping apart from people you see regularly. The only virtue here is virtue signalling. We must see that they're being responsible. Why? No one's quite sure. Let's start the show! Holy shit, Graham, calm down. That's a big audience all packed together. Have you heard about COVID? Of course you have. I see you've got the guests still spaced out massively. No masks, though. You know the advice is still to wear one if you don't know the people. No chatting in the green room. But masks really would interfere with the flow of your scintillating chat, so let's not bother with that. What's on the other side? Christ, are you in Wembley Arena? Are you boosting the applause a bit in the sound booth? No, of course you're not. Thank you. You're too kind. Stop it. No, that's too much. Same thing with the guests. They might have to shout to hear each other, especially over the roar of that crowd. That doesn't sound too COVID safe either. Question Time even has those weird perspex screens, like they've all got their own personal fish tank. And the audience sitting in a diamond formation, one for the football fans. not a mask in sight. In these kind of shows, I'm sure there's lots of testing, masks and stuff behind the scenes, but we can't see that, so that's not good enough. And sometimes they get a bit muddled up in their own fantasy world, like this utter madness.
Monica, you're going to be watching on the monitor from the other room, and you're going to come back in for the critique and the tasting, right?
All right, see you later.
What's that all about? Bit weird? No, this is MasterChef The Professionals. What's that? Doesn't matter. Chefs, judges, cooking. Someone's the best after what feels like a million weeks. They can't have more than 4 people in a room for some reason, even though they're in a giant warehouse with a film crew. One of the judges, in this case Monica Galetti, is banished, while Michelin-starred chef Marcus Waring and chancer Greg Wallace pull faces and try to distract a poor misfortunate.
Any passions outside of food, John?
I've got a second-degree black belt.
What?
Let him concentrate. Can't you see he's holding a knife? Can't you switch places with Monica? Couldn't anyone else have left? It's got to be someone who really should be in the room judging the food.
Oh my God, I can't watch when they hold the knife like that.
Sorry, you have to, Monica. We've created this whole pretense for you. Why are you wearing headphones? Does the food sound good? Is it to remind us that you're not there? Why not sit in the far corner with a telescope? All going well except...
Chefs, welcome back into the kitchen. Now is your signature 2-course menu. After the skills test, some of you, I'm sure, think that you've got a point to prove.
The only one trying to prove a point is you, mate. Now it seems fine to have 7 of you there, or it's still just 3 and there's some technical trickery, in which case just do that before. Don't bother us with this crap. Except then we wouldn't know that you're trying to tell us you're taking precautions. Now we know we can relax and enjoy the good food and the great conversation.
Rodri, why are you a chef?
I'm a chef because I love food.
It'd be odd if you didn't, mate. Spoiler, loving food's not enough. He's out. And relax. The problem with being across all the media is it's a roller coaster of emotions. One trick I've found, use them to cancel each other out. See, The Guardian's a nice way to calm down after all the hate and bile from the Mail. Don't get me wrong, the rag's got just as much wrong with it as the rest. Pseudo-intellectual, bit of a reputation for mistakes, hence Private Eye's Groniad moniker from the 60s. Bit smug. But on the surface, at least, it's warm and comforting. All the problems of the world, they've got lovely, nice solutions. For the Mail, we're doomed! Pick a problem. Same day, let's be fair. What about transport? How to get about? It's enough to drive us potty from the Mail. What about potholes? See what they did? It was potholes. It was great. Roads crumbling away into dust. One bloke's car even got stuck while he was running a migrant over. No, that's made up. He missed him. But the lovely Guardian. Please don't push bikes into the canal if it's not too much trouble. It's a bit of a pain to fish them out. But if you need to, well, okay, but don't cause much of a splash or hit the ducks. See what I mean? What about Christmas is coming? It's all a bit near now, bit stressful. For added stress, watch out. We're running short on hangover drugs from the Mail. And the Guardian? Why not go to a panto? This one's got a few rude jokes. Ooh, I say, lovely stuff. Feel a bit better now, actually. But that's all on the surface. What if I was to tell you that The Guardian was just as bad for your health? It's all just a bit more subtle. I mean, look at this. Front page stuff. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, rising star of the US Democrats, highly tipped for a presidential run. Well, she loves Iron Brew. Yes, that bright orange fizzy drink from Scotland. Is that a story? No. Inside, there's a whole column about it, devoted to promoting and praising the stuff.
Iron Brew, count me in. I love it.
She's a fan. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon loves it too. Funny that. Again, not a story. And it was a hit at COP26, thanks to a deal between the makers and the organisers. Just missing a few important details. See, with all that caffeine, sugar and colourings, health experts say it's bad news, particularly for children. So maybe that's reflected. Maybe a bit at the bottom of the article from a spokesperson there. Of course! Right at the end, last paragraph, there they are. It's phenomenal that Scotland's ginger nectar has made such a splash. What? Oh, that is a spokesperson, but one from Iron Brew. Would they have run the same puff piece about President Donald Trump loving Coca-Cola? Of course not. It's just a shameless plug for a soft drink. You'd think they'd notice. What with many health articles in the same edition, the NHS pushed to breaking point on the front page, a scare about palm oil and cancer. Iron brew, though, delicious. Everyone loves it. Anyway, lies and hypocrisy are all present and correct. You just need to know where to look. Can't deny it is relaxing, though. And I really fancy a can of the ginger nectar now. Remembrance. A time when we come together to think about those who've lost their lives in combat. Armistice Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, when the guns fell silent and the horrors of the First World War came to an end. All ending with Remembrance Sunday from the Cenotaph in London. That's what happens. That's the news. It happens every year. And that's not enough if you're selling papers or covering it on the telly. Remember the Fallen? Did that last year, mate. What's the new angle? This year, it all got a bit crass. The Queen, yes, she's been a bit poorly recently, hasn't she? Never missed the service at the Cenotaph, though, except when she has. She'll probably be there. Don't put too much pressure on her. She's 95, not long lost her husband. Wrong! It's all about the Queen, isn't it? She's definitely going to be there, isn't she? She wouldn't miss it, would she? Not Liz, she'll be there. Why such a massive story? Trying to troll her? You're ill, aren't you, Mum? Admit it, admit it. It's almost like a veiled threat. Don't want to pry, Mum, but it'd be a catastrophe if you're not. An hour to go, it's all good. She's coming.
The Queen will attend the National Service of Remembrance at the Cenotaph today in her first public engagement in more than 3 weeks.
Within an hour?
We have some breaking news. The Queen has decided, it's been announced this morning, that with regret, she will not be attending the Remembrance Sunday ceremonies this morning. That is breaking news that has just come in.
Just about got there, didn't we, Trev? She's got a back sprain. Liz, has Edward been trying to play It's a Royal Knockout again?
There was a huge amount of anticipation about whether or not Her Majesty would be here for a Remembrance Sunday.
Yeah, there has. Maybe that had something to do with it. And now she's resting. Maybe let it go.
Can we just first start with that breaking news from Whitehall that the Queen will not be joining the ceremonies this morning? I imagine that that will be a matter of some disappointment to you and other members of government.
Well, look, obviously I'm very sorry to hear that.
Give him a break. He's been hunkered down in Glasgow without a phone. Everyone's gutted about the Queen, aren't they, Alec? Distraught. Tell me about how fucked off everyone is.
The Queen misses the Remembrance Sunday ceremony at the Cenotaph for the first time in 22 years.
I'm sure it wasn't the massive pressure, the possibility of a chat with Boris or her own shitty family that kept her away. Families, eh? Affairs, casual racism, feuding siblings, getting a bit too close to a sex offender. Uncle Andy, please stop going for walks with pedo Jeff. People will get the wrong idea. That's just my family. I'm sure Liz has her own problems. Then days of coverage of the fallout. Health scare, strain, fears for Her Maj. What do you want from her? There she is. First picture since the scare. Everyone pounced on it. Smiling, they said. Doesn't look that happy, really. Just stop it. Leave her alone. But if that was all about cajoling Liz, some saw a gap in the remembrance market for more climate chat. Here's a story in The Guardian about poppies and the environment. Royal British Legion urged to make poppies recyclable. It's almost like they're trolling right-wingers who picked up a copy by mistake. The kind of people for whom wearing a poppy isn't enough. They'll write and complain if a news presenter isn't wearing one. It isn't big enough, it's upside down, or they aren't looking respectful enough. Hugh Edwards just smiled. Dorothy, hand me my green ink. So scared are the BBC that they start pinning up very early. And here's a weather report. There's Sunday's weather, Remembrance Day, it's wearing a poppy. There's Monday's weather, no poppy needed. Even the weather must respect the heroes. No such fear from The Guardian. You know those poppies you're so animated about? You know that other thing you hate, the climate recycling lefty stuff? Well, the climate wants to stop you wearing them. It doesn't. It's all very wrong. Poppies are recyclable. They're paper and plastic, and not some kind of weird plastic you have to burn or bury in the ground for 1,000,000 years. Just take them to a well-known supermarket chain if you work for the BBC, or Sainsbury's for the rest of us. No, the paper says campaigners are concerned because people might not recycle and just chuck them on the ground. Doesn't sound much like the Legion's fault, but not good enough. The poppy must disintegrate on your lapel, so there's nothing left by 12th of November. Some sad news now. ITV heavyweight and former Sky News legend too, Eamonn Holmes, is leaving this morning. Yes, after 15 years hosting alongside wife Ruth Langsford, he's finally getting off the sofa to change the channel to GB News. Must have one of the old TVs. Is it a shock he's leaving? Not really. I mean, to be honest, he hasn't done it regularly since last year, and even then he was only doing Fridays. Now it's just holiday cover. It's a bit like Prince Andrew announcing he's stepping back from royal duties. Seriously, mate, are you still here? A source tells the papers Eamonn's move marks the end of an era, the right time for him and ITV. All good things, etc., etc. Whoever the source is, they're a big fan, aren't they? Intimate knowledge of his career. Still a bit barbed, though. The only reason it'd be good for either of them is that he's halfway out the door already. It seemed like he was angling for a job at the Newbie Disaster Fest since June, when he tweeted his support and even had a pop at the woke agenda. Are you sure, Eamonn? It's not exactly going well in the free speech zone, is it? Andrew Neil already out the door saying he'd almost had a breakdown. Geet O'Harry gone too after exercising his freedom to take the knee. Not the right freedom, mate. And Simon McCoy lurching from one crisis to another.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda,
Yes.
James and the Giant Peach.
All wonderful.
They could all be soon coming to Netflix.
Netflix.
Their lawyers are on. Netflix and the streaming giant has been entered talks to purchase Roald Dahl's I'm in real trouble here.
In 2018,
I thought this was
I'll tell you.
water.
He's a bit of a loose cannon. Eamonn, I mean. I've given up on Simon. And has been causing the broadcaster some grief. Last year, he waded in on the 5G and COVID storm. Just to be clear, of course there's no scientific link, but there still seemed to be an element of doubt for him.
Totally agree with everything you're saying, but what I don't accept is mainstream media immediately slapping that down as not true when they don't know it's not true. No one should attack or damage or do anything like that, but it's very easy to say it is not true because it suits the state narrative. That's all I would say as someone with an inquiring mind.
Oh dear. Over 400 complaints to the regulator. Time for an apology? Sure, but one of those apologies. Yeah, you know the ones I mean?
Some comments that some of you may misinterpreted from me yesterday around conspiracy theories and coronavirus, and this involved the rollout of 5G. Both Alice B and myself agreed in a discussion on this very programme on fake news that it's not true, and there is no connection between the present national health emergency and 5G, and to suggest otherwise would be wrong, and indeed it could be possibly dangerous.
Oh, of course! It was the public's fault, wasn't it? We misinterpreted your comments. Silly us. And he'll happily throw in an inappropriate comment anytime.
Your hair reminds me of an alpaca today. Actually, so it does. You just want to pet it, don't you? It's very, very alpaca-ish.
Don't touch my hair.
Sorry, said Eamonn to anyone offended. We've had a sense of humour failure, haven't we? Oops. But really, seriously, do not pet people's hair. And what about this rant about Meghan Markle doing royal duties and wanting a bit of privacy too?
If you have an uppy attitude, you're only through the door 2 minutes, and suddenly you're sitting at Wimbledon and your royal protection people are saying, no photographs, no photographs, no photographs. You do know.
Uppy. Bit close to uppity for some, which used to refer to enslaved people in the Deep South who got ideas above their station. Eamonn, said ITV, was unaware of the history of the word. But if it's archaic language that gets you going, what about his exchange in 2011 with actor Jonathan Wilkes? You know, best known for being for being a close friend of Robbie Williams. Not really my area, all a bit too show busy. Sounds like Lizzie Cundy should be there.
I thought Manchester was one of the three.
What are you, retarded?
I know.
What don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid indeed. Was he sorry? Yes, of course. What for?
Just sorry to 3 or 4 of you who have got in touch this morning because I've used the word retarded during the newspaper review, and you seem to take it personally, or seems to say that I'm insulting all sort of people who've got all sorts of conditions. I used it in a term that someone, I don't know what you would use instead of the word, but obviously I would never want to do that or cause any sort of offence for that. So, and having done so much work, particularly there's this man who's got an autistic child and said somehow that insulted his child. So I really hope it hasn't. I really apologise. I certainly wouldn't use it in that context, but sorry if that caused you offence, sir. I'll get your name in a moment and I will reply to you.
Don't be be so sensitive, guys. He did apologise again and said he'd made a mistake. But if it's sensitivity you want, Eamonn's got that too. Very image conscious, sometimes rightly so. Remember, he had a go at Celebrity Gogglebox over how they'd edited his reaction to a TV show. In fairness, it did show him joking about taking his wife to hospital during labour after a clip of a boy giving his dad CPR after a heart attack. They cut out the relevant bit where he discussed his own dad's heart attack. They did re-edit it for him, which is fair enough. It's a massive blunder on their part. But then there's his weight. Used to be very sensitive about that. A decade ago, he took offence to a silly BBC sketch where it was suggested he'd eat anything. Sofas the lot. Oh, how we did not laugh. Bit cross about it, was he? The odd barbed comment on ITV about it? No. He wrote an official letter of complaint to the BBC. And the BBC got a bit weird about it too. They said, sorry, it was meant to be affectionate. They even dropped the character. What a reaction! Rather than, fuck off, mate. Who gave you editorial control over another channel's comedy output? Let's hope he has stopped being such a snowflake, because I hear they hate that over at GB News. I, for one, can't wait to watch it all unfold. And, Eamonn, mate, I am sorry if you've been offended by any of that. Look, I'll get your address and write to you personally. Priti Patel's in trouble. The Home Secretary's fast running out of friends. Not just political ones either. Good, solid, reliable ones who've always got your back, like the Daily Mail. It's over these migrants, asylum seekers, desperate people fleeing war and persecution, or just in search of a better life. Many risking their lives in the Channel. And Priti's talking tough. Again. Blaming the system she oversees for the Liverpool hospital bomber still being in the country. A merry-go-round of lawyers and appeals, she calls it. Lefty lawyers gaming the system was the line last year, and the Mail, usually a big cheerleader, would be an obvious ally. But this time, it's all gone a bit wrong. See, they've just noticed, though it has taken a while, that she's been in charge since 2019. Not that long, really. Maybe she could lay into her predecessor, like politicians always seem to. Well, the last three were also Tories. Sajid Javid, Amber Rudd, Theresa May. Remember her? Forgettable as PM, but architect of the hostile environment policy Priti so readily embraced. How soon we forget that they've been in government for over a decade. Even PM Boris was reportedly hopping mad that she can't seem to get a grip of those boats in the Channel. Is there a solution? Probably not for the system. If that existed, it wouldn't be a problem after 10 years. And no, they won't get rid of her either. Boris never sacks people. Just look at man of many names Grant Shapps, hands-face-ass Matt Hancock, and holiday-loving Afghanistan-dodging Dominic Raab.
Nonsense, the sea was actually closed.
To be fair to Boris, if he fired people for being rubbish, he'd be a lonely man in number 10. And now for my Scream of the Week.
And all those woke storylines in so many shows today. You know, I was watching an episode of You where measles came up.
Wait. When did I mention measles?
I don't know. It was on You.
Wait, what was on me? What are you talking about? Is Raymond even hearing what I'm saying? I never had the measles.
Was on You.
We never did a measles and vaccine episode. Is this a joke?
I know.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was on You. It was on You.
Raymond, I've never had measles. What are you talking about? This is stupid.
It was an episode of a show, Laura.
What's it called?
You.
What is he talking about?
It's called You.
I've never done a show on measles. I just completely give up. We got to get out of it.
It's a show
I give up.
called You on Netflix.
There's a show called Laura Ingham on Netflix. What are you
Never
talking
mind.
about?
I'm moving on to Adele.
So that's me, Rhys Lawton, and until next time, I will be watching the mainstream news so you don't have to. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get your weekly dose of me every Friday. Ooh, sorry, someone just subscribed. Yay.